Warhorn. Yes, come on, yes. We're eating him. We're eating him, yes. That was super zombie style. Oh, and we're almost getting the other guy. Play the round properly as well, guys. If you get infected, you get infected. Oh, no. Oh, how are they getting away? There we go. Must stomp. How many CCs are available to people at this level? Yes, I got a zombie. I created one. That's usually how zombies goes. All right. That's usually how it goes. If I can knock one of them off with fear as well. Yes. Oh, I got two. I got two. Excellent. Excellent. All right. We have 2 zombies. Well, guys, today a super badass thing was revealed to me in the recent patches. I'm not actually sure exactly when Arenanet did it, but they finally fixed the arena decorating. Those who haven't been following the channel for a while, or the game in general, you may remember that with Heart of Thorns, Arenanet released the arena system with the decoration system that should have allowed you to drop fear turrets and knockback turrets and walls and all kinds of cool stuff to create cool game types. Except it was always broken. And basically, we had to come to our own solutions to fix that. It broke around Christmas, so Arenanet took away a wonderful Christmas gift from us, and it's basically been in a really shoddy state for a while now. However, with the seasonal patch, or one of the patches very shortly afterwards, they have improved things and they have fixed the arenas. So I wanted to do this video today, not necessarily to talk about that system, which now I can finally dive into and look at, but more to show you the lengths we went to and the final arena that was being ran and final game type that was being ran before Arenanet's actual Heart of Thorns features could be used. So today I want to talk to you guys about the Zombie Labyrinth. So this is actually, I'm just going to come out and say it, my favorite game type that we've done so far. We haven't even played too much of it just yet, but it's introduced so many cool, weird ideas to the game that only work through the arena that I've just fallen in love with it. The previous tournaments we've done are the 1v1 tournament and the 1v1v1 tournament, and in my opinion, this trumps them both. Players of Halo, yeah, the first-person shooter, should be more than familiar with this game type. They used to host this on the back in the old Halo 3 matchmaking days. I used to play it most myself. It's a very simple idea, and for those of you who haven't played that game either, I'd like to explain how it works. It's very simple. You have 2 teams. You've got the blue team, the survivors, and you have the red team, the zombies. And the idea is that at the start of the game, you are full of survivors. Basically, every single player, you can have 15 players, 20 players, 30 players, 40 players, just 10, however many, depending on the size of your arena, that is, and what the capacity is for the actual map. But you're going to start with a bunch of survivors and a single zombie. That zombie is the alpha zombie, and it's his job to kill all of the survivors. And so you might be wondering, well, what exactly are you talking about? How is that going to work? Someone's going to 1v20, 1v30? Well, here's where it gets interesting. This, of course, is Guild Wars 2's PvE PvP, and that means you can go in at a low level. You know, it's the character I'm playing right now. You guys won't have ever seen on any video I've done before. That's this new guy who's called Alpha Zombie. That's his name, sorry, Alpha Survivor. And his level is only level 5. So the way this works is that the survivors are all very, very low level, only level 5 in this case, and the Alpha Zombie gets to be a few levels higher than them. That doesn't just mean that the Alpha Zombie has more stats, but it actually most importantly means they have more skills. The current way that we've implemented this game is the survivors are level 5 and the Alpha Zombie is level 8, but there's some interesting other ideas that you can play with that. But it's really easy to set up. One of my favorite things about this, what I really think makes a game type shine and what you might be able to accomplish in your own guilds, is there's no way of forcing builds and it's very easy for people to cheat. So it's difficult to come up with a game type that is solid and people can't cheat sneakily very easily without you noticing. The rules for this are very simple. It's just have a certain level. You can be any build you like, you can have any gear on that level character that you like, you can have any consumables that you like if you can get your hands on them, but it's very important that you actually just that one level. And then as for the way that the rest of the game's played, like it seems like quite a weird rule set, it's actually very simple for the perspective of the players. So here's what happens. You have one dedicated like referee style doorman guy, and at the start of the game what he's going to do is open the door to the blue team, the survivors team. All the survivors can bundle in here, all 20 to 30 of your survivors, they'll all be able to run in, and after they've all been assigned and gone into the arena to try and hide somewhere in the labyrinth to survive for as long as they can, once that's occurred, the doorman back up here, all he has to do is lock the door again. And so once the door's been relocked and nobody can get in, nobody can speak to this NPC here, what happens if we're in the arena and then we end up dying, right? We fall off the edge or something, we get killed by the zombie, all right? Oh dear, we've just died, that's it, game over. Now we want to go back in and fight, right? We want to continue playing. Well, when we come back up, we can't join the blue team anymore. We're no longer a survivor. You respawn as a zombie. So that's the way it works. It's a little bit like if you guys ever played Team It as kids, right, where you would tag each other and slowly that team would grow. We used to call it Family It where I grew up. And what happens is you may just start with one zombie who's a little bit stronger, but once he scores that first kill, he's gained an ally for himself. And now I'm a zombie too. I'm not super strong like the alpha zombie was, but I can fight and I can support him. And now it's 2v29, say. And then we score another kill, and then another kill, and then another kill. And so from the perspective of the survivors who have been running around in this scary labyrinth with lots of intricate little pathways and areas that you can jump up and hide, for the perspective of the survivors, they're just seeing people die and die and die and die and die until eventually they're the last man standing. And the idea of this, as far as prizes are concerned, is the last man standing gets a small prize, or 5G or whatever, and then you go for another round. So people always want to survive, and there's kind of an interesting idea as a survivor. Like, what do? Do you strike it out on your own and hide somewhere that you hope that the zombies will never see you? And this arena's actually got quite a few cool little hiding places. For example, this arena's going to get torn down by the end of the video, so I don't mind spoiling it. We've already done the streams that we're going to do this. But so, for example, there's a hidden little snow pile down here that if the zombies perhaps don't know about, you can maybe hide, and then you can actually climb back up and run around. There are some tricky little jumps you can do to actually skip around. I messed that one up, but to skip around various obstacles and run through one-way traps so that the zombies may have to chase you and fall as they do. There's a lot of cool little plays you can make. So can you try and be a runner? Can you try and survive and be the last man standing through that means? Or do you maybe group up with your fellow survivors? Now, in the end, you want to be the last one alive, but maybe there is strength in numbers. And from what we've seen in the gameplay so far, that's absolutely true. If all the survivors bundle together, they can hold out. They can kill the alpha zombie, even though he's a couple of levels higher than them. Even though he has access to some more skills and, you know, can accomplish a lot more in combat. If you stay together, maybe there's safety in numbers. But as soon as people start dying, the zombies are going to know where you are. Why? Let's say, for example, I'm a survivor right now, and I go and hide somewhere in the labyrinth. You know, this is my hiding spot, and I've got 3 of my friends here. We're hidden under here. Nobody's coming. Once this spot is compromised, once someone gets killed, let's say we have everyone bundled here, the zombies are the same players. I'm going to respawn as a zombie, and I'm going to know, right, I know exactly where my friends were, I know exactly what that weakness is, and then they're going to run over and they're going to try and kill me. And then once the kills start rolling, it all of a sudden gets very scary as a survivor, and you're going to shift gears from a hiding playstyle to a running playstyle. So what do? There are actually some interesting mechanics that you can play into even further than just this low-level scenario. First of all, to talk about the idea of everyone being low-level in the first place, it has some really cool knock-on effects. There's kind of a weird question, right? Like, how does low-level PvP even feel? Does it feel anything like high-level PvP? In a lot of ways, okay, I actually prefer it. The pacing is roughly the same. People do roughly the same amount of damage compared to the amount of toughness and vitality and so on that people have. You can build in different directions roughly the same amount as you could at level 80, like the equivalents. So, for example, I built this as a very power-heavy character. He's got, you know, a scholar rune on there for plus 10 power. You can really put a lot of this stuff on. There's actually a lot of systems in-game, like blood-bound weapons and old key farming gear, basically, that allows people to get that upper hand and really define a build, even at the low levels, right? Swing their attributes in a certain way. For example, if you wanted to be an alpha zombie, you could give yourself a ton of vitality just so that you can sustain long enough wading through tons of players to eventually score that kill. Because don't forget, you have to get a stomp as well as a kill, or at least, you know, push someone into down state. But there's actually a really interesting side effect of everyone being so low level they don't even have all the skills unlocked, and that's that there's very well defined builds and roles. In Guild Wars 2 at level 80, at the worst, most classes are going to have access to about 15 skills, okay? 2 weapon swaps, 5 utility skills, not counting any other mechanics that can be at play. And, you know, to swing in the other direction, to look at something like Elementalist, you can have tons of skills. What that means is, Guild Wars 2's regular level 80 PvP, there's a lot happening. This is one of the things that makes it kind of a difficult game to spectate. So much to point out, so many options, so many outs available to all players. It means that the gameplay of the game, when you get really good and you really dive into it, there's a lot of depth and a lot you can draw from its systems, but it also means that many of the builds and roles and things aren't super distinct. Well, that's not quite true when you're low level. So one of our first things to decide when we were designing this arena, when we were deciding this game type, was what level do we play at? What level do we actually choose to be the level of the survivors and the zombie? Originally, I just wanted to go low level so that any player could come on in and easily participate, right? Like, to get to level 5, it's about, you know, 15 minutes of gameplay, get a couple of hearts, and you're basically there. So that was my first reason that I wanted people to be low level. But actually, playing a little bit more, you realize that this has all these interesting perks. I get no utility skills. We settled on level 5 eventually because it's still easy to get to, but level 5 is you have your main hand weapons unlocked. You can unlock weapon swap by sort of cheating in Heart of the Mist. That's okay. That's something you can do. So you can equip 2 different weapon sets, but also you get your unique profession mechanic. So what does this mean? This means that Guardians find safety in numbers through their F1, allowing them to apply a ton of burn to any zombies coming at them, as long as they've got a lot of allies around them. It means that Thieves get that little bit of extra utility for them from actually using steal, and they can stealth if they steal from a thief zombie and maybe get away, or they get different options depending on the zombies that they're fighting. They also of course get a blink associated with steal. Well, the other really interesting side effect as well of just having only your 3 weapon skills for your main hand on Thief especially is it actually brings these crazy abilities that nobody ever uses into the game. Repeater, okay? Repeater is an ability you will only see if you only have a main hand equipped on a Thief. There's also a unique one on Sword, and there's also, which is called Stab, and there's also a unique one on Dagger as well, which is Twisting Fangs. Twisting Fangs, by the way, being a super badass skill from GW1 that's just terrible in Guild Wars 2. These skills aren't particularly well balanced, but you actually get to see them have some play. For example, this has got lots of physical projectiles on it, and maybe I want to use that when an allied survivor elementalist drops a lava font. And so now you actually see that people are really limited. For example, CCs, this arena has a lot of precarious walkways around the edges, okay? A lot of situations where you might want to hide or kite around one of these pillars. Now, how is this acceptable design in the way that I've designed this labyrinth? Well, it's kind of okay because there's only a single character, as far as we worked out. At level 5, in the entire game, only a single class that gets access to a CC that can push someone off. And what is that? That's Necromancer. That's Necromancer who get their profession skills, and they can use Doom in their Shroud. Nobody else gets any kind of blowouts or hard CCs like that. So the Necromancers, as a result, are really well defined in what they can accomplish. If you choose to play a game type like this, you go for Necro for that very specific reason. Or you go for Guardian and Staff so that you can cleave people through the walls and so that you can drop a little bit of swiftness on yourself. Swiftness not everybody necessarily has access to. And it's funny how comfortably all the professions have their unique gimmick. So it even works within the profession as well. For example, Thief, I could run Sword, and I actually get access to some blink capabilities, really good for kiting away, as well as a little bit of mob. But if I go for Pistol instead, which is what I was running, it's not really a damaging thing. Repeater's not tuned very well. I wish the devs would go back and tune them. But actually, you get a really, really comfortable Immobilize that lasts a reasonable amount of time. You can just kind of spam as your initiative will let you, and you can use this to really keep a zombie away for a long period of time while eventually you kite off should you be trying to flee. You, of course, get your stealth skills. You get a good backstab if you're running on Dagger. And every class kind of gets to experience that. Mesmers get to experience, hey, do we pulse out tons of clones using Scepter? Or do we give ourselves another extra evade using Sword? And so on. So you get the idea. The low-level environment of these fights has been really, really, really interesting, of a quality that I never saw coming. And once again, that's been something that surprised me with the arena systems. The way that your game types and the rules that you set and the arenas that you create just kind of run away from you. It gets even better when you think about the Alpha Zombie. The Alpha Zombie we deliberately chose to be level 8. What level 8 means is that they get all their weapon skills. If you went even higher, up to level 11, as could perhaps be the right balance, they would actually unlock a single utility skill. And with a single utility skill, you can do a lot of interesting things. Rangers, for example, could use Sick'em to apply Revealed to survivors who are trying to use stealth to keep away and survive. And then they get like that gimmick as a ranger. Or rangers, for what it's worth as well, survivors can use their pets to create things with forage on pets, which can create more stealths and more pickups for their fellow survivors to get a hold of. But then do you want your fellow survivors to pick up your pet's foraged item? Because in the end, you want to be the last man standing, not necessarily them. So there's a lot of really interesting little things that can end up coming out of this kind of thing. It takes some practice, it takes some fine-tuning to figure out where the correct balance is. Hell, I don't even know if we fully hit it yet. And I'm looking forward to making another version of the labyrinth here. So what are you guys seeing right now? You're seeing the labyrinth as I built it. I basically used as many cheap decorations as I could. I actually went to LFG and bought the Heart of Thorns Deluxe decorations, as many as I could, because they cover a lot of space. Toon Vine walls are actually really good for building a labyrinth, really good. I was using a lot of the Wyvern statues as best I could as well. We have the ice blocks also, for what it's worth. Ice blocks are really cool because there are some hiding spots on this labyrinth where you might want to hide from a zombie as a survivor, and it's deliberately designed to be a great hiding spot, but if the zombie just presses F and shatters the ice, he can reveal where you are. Not that it's necessarily easy to run through the labyrinth when you have no real idea of exactly where you can walk when, you know, these blocks are turned off. So it's a nice arena. I definitely designed a lot of cool things into it. Even though it's basically filled up a lot of space, the way that players are funneled around, and because everyone's low level, there's less effects, less huge AoEs, less mobility in general that people have. It actually feels like a very big arena. Even in some places you can see I kind of made a little second floor for people to hide if they want up here. Areas where you could go lower, like that snow block that I showed you guys. And despite the fact that we flooded this in, it's had some pretty interesting effects on the gameplay. For example, talking about how an arena can run away from you, or a game type can run away from you, I built this little snow pile here so that people could jump over this bookshelf back into the labyrinth there, but they couldn't go the other way. Now that in itself is some pretty interesting design, but what I actually found is when we had a bunch of people in the arena, what they do is jump up onto this snow block, which I never thought about at all, and everyone, you'd have huge groups of players sieging the zombie in this little passageway here as he ran through, because the zombie in the previous version of the arena had been forced to run down this tunnel. So then in the end I affected the design a little and opened up a passageway here, so then the zombie gets an alternate route through. There's a secret area that you could hide right at the start. This is where the zombies spawn, the red spawn, so it'd be very dangerous to come here as a survivor. But if you can make it, you can actually come to maybe some of these sneaky areas here that it's almost impossible to get to through any other means. You can even climb over some of these bookshelves. There's a lot of cool things that are basically available for players who really look. But it was a pain to build, and it wasn't easy. All of this stuff is floating, for example. So this whole idea of hiding in the labyrinth doesn't really work too well, because you can just go into first person on the Sura character and look under the floor and see where people are hiding. Not to mention the fact that squad UI at the moment, as amazing as it is, for example, the way squad UI would work is you'd have two subgroups. The top subgroup is all the survivors, they're all in there, and you have a single alpha zombie. The guy who's back up here at the start, all he has to do is every time he sees someone in the survivor group die, he drags them into the zombie group. And slowly you see the survivors dying and getting picked off until eventually you know who the last one is, and then they end up getting the prize. And squad UI is great for that. Squad UI is also necessary for getting people into this guild hall if they're not actually a part of the guild. We continue to fight with Arenanet's shoddy server infrastructure in that sense. But the drawback is that you can kind of see everyone's nameplates, so, you know, what can you really do there? I'm looking forward to seeing how the new arena works. We will get access to a lot of walls. If you guys aren't clear on exactly how this works, there are hundreds of walls I think you unlock very, very, very cheaply. If we go to arena decorations, there's like 250 of a lot of these different things. We're still, I would say, we're an intermediate guild now. We're level 22. We're about halfway through our progression. We've got a lot of stuff. We can start using traps, pushes, pulls. There's more I could talk about. The impact of bloodlust on the game type. If you're a survivor who manages to kill enough zombies and survive for long enough, you actually start wrecking them and you can get these huge sprees going. Lots of multi-kills as zombies charge at you and you fight for your survival as long as possible. But I guess I'll leave it there. Let me know what you guys think about the game type. I'll show you another version of the arena and some proper matches that I intend to host at some point in the very near future. But yeah, a little bit more about the arena for you guys today. A little bit more about how it's worked, how it's been progressing, some of these ideas that I've had. If you are interested, as ever, in playing any of this, in winning some prizes, be sure to check out the streams or send me a message in-game and I'll get back to you and give you an invite, and we'll see how it goes. So thanks, guys. Have a great evening. I'll see you next time. Labyrinth.